Awesome. Yeah, so we are hosting this webinar as XR Bootcamp, and you may know us already as an online academy for virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality upskilling. And yeah, what is actually special about us? We have a very big XR creators Discord community. And as first thing today, I would actually like to invite you to join the XR creators channel. We've already above 5,500 XR enthusiasts, XR creators, XR developers there, and everyone is helping each other out with development questions or job offers or opportunities. So feel free to join, it's free. And yeah, we have lots of students from different companies joining us. So you will always be in good company if you're like taking our courses. And also what's our DNA is that we have the philosophy that you should always learn from the best of the best. So all our trainers, all our mentors are really handpicked. They own their own successful XR studios or are working at major studios like Ubisoft or others. And we are always very career focused. So all our courses require you to create your own portfolio pieces so that afterwards you really can show something and you know that you have actually learned something and can show that as well. And the next course that we are launching is actually the XR Foundations and Prototyping Bootcamp, which is our core offering. It's a 4-month-long program, which is created to get you a career in the XR industry. So there is a C# course, which you need to do first, and it's free. And it's your test before you can actually join. And for us, it's really a test so that we know that you love coding, actually, because it's a test where you will have to show your new coding skills, which you acquire in this free C# course. And if you enjoy that, you will definitely also enjoy the bootcamp. So it's more for you to know, should I actually go into this area of XR prototyping or not? And to test yourself also if you enjoy coding or not. And then it's a 4-month program. So the first one is really building up the first 2 months is about building up the foundations. So you learn C# and Unity. And the last 2 months are really about getting your project portfolio ready. So you will be prototyping a lot every week, a new prototype in your teams of students. And afterwards, we have the career services where you are having a career mentor. And we will basically continue mentoring you until you have your first job interviews. And there's like several different careers that our students have gotten after doing the bootcamp. And it's really like at lots of different companies they're working today with lots of different job titles, as you can see. And and there's always, like you're mentioning, these 3 very exemplary students, because it's just very fascinating that Sadiq from Italy, he basically got a job offer from Apple as XR spatial engineer. Michael is now working as XR prototyper at Meta. And Emma, even though she didn't have any coding skills before, she's now working as technical artist at Polyarc, which is the XR studio behind Moss VR, which is a very nice game. You may have played it already. And we usually have industry partners who are helping our students as well to create really prototypes which are industry validated. So it's industry companies which give briefs to our students, and then you can choose to either prototype for them or prototype your own projects based on your own career industry goals. And I also invite you to check out our Trustpilot profile. We're very proud and very happy that all our students and all our graduates are always very happy with our courses. And they also certify us that because of us, they found their careers and their job. So has someone shared the C# coding course link? It's free. I just invite you to try it out. And that's companies which are also sending their developers to our courses. And what's nice is that also these developers from these companies are always looking to hire. So we usually send them also the profiles of our graduates. So there's easier job matchmaking afterwards. And then actually tomorrow we are launching the XR Design Fellowship. And that's a very, it's very accessible program because it doesn't require you to dedicate so much time. So it's only like 10 to 15 hours you need per month. And it's like for designers who want to really upskill and improve their XR design skills. So every month we're inviting an XR designer, XR professional to share their challenges, to share their case studies, to share their lessons learned about how to do XR design. And you also get a few assignments to build up your XR design portfolio and mentorship to improve on that. And it's starting tomorrow with Daniel from Bezel. You may have seen him on his YouTube channel already. And he is going to do an Apple Vision OS Vision Pro case study on how to build prototypes for Apple's Vision Pro. So yeah, feel free to check that out as well. So that's all from me and about XR Bootcamp. And I would love to invite Chanel and Evan now to take over. And please feel free to introduce yourself. And there you go.
Yeah, thank you so much for the amazing introduction about XR Bootcamp and for inviting both Evan and I to speak today. We love XR Bootcamp. You guys are an amazing educational organization for XR, VR, and AR, and really excited to tell more people about our product, 8thWall WebAR. So let me just share my screen really quickly. Let's see. Yep, this is the screen. Can I get a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Amazing. Thank you. So my name is Phengdy, and I'm a program manager on the Niantic developer community team, working very closely with the 8thWall community. And my passion is around supporting an ecosystem of XR creators, developers, experts, partners, so that we can all thrive and kind of build the real world metaverse together. So today I hope to explore the power of 8thWall WebAR with you. So at 8thWall, we believe that augmented reality is for everyone. By harnessing the power of the web, 8thWall creates real-time augmented reality experiences for the real world and for real people. So whether you want to transform faces, spaces, or places, 8thWall is well equipped to serve your needs. Through this presentation, I hope to demonstrate the value, utility, and power of 8thWall WebAR, telling you why WebAR, showing some really powerful, successful use cases, deep diving into our product, and then Evan will give you a live demonstration of 8thWall and show you how easy it is to use, but also how powerful it is. So first off, why WebAR? You may be familiar with other native AR apps and social AR apps. For native apps, these are fully developed mobile applications that rely on the user's device to be compatible with AR technology, right? And then also the user must be willing to install that app and to try out your experience. This means that you may have an amazing AR app, but if people are not willing to download the app, they will miss out on the experience. And then on the other hand, you have AR filters that are very popular in social media apps, and we call this social AR commonly. And these filters offer a really fun and engaging interactive way to interact with the world around you. However, they require people to create an account and commit to that social networking platform. Your audience is also confined to that platform, and there's no way for them to enjoy the journey beyond the app. So with 8thWall, we have a different vision. By simply being on the web, we can reach over 3.5 billion smartphones, both on iOS and Android. Our AR technology works seamlessly on a vast range of devices, from computers, AR, VR headsets. Regardless of the specs or power, all you need is a web browser to get started with 8thWall. And then 8thWall is basically essentially a website. So we have massive reach, but we also have no app required. We're built on web standards, enabling content to be delivered instantly through the standard web browser. So you just give your users a URL or QR code, and they just access your AR experiences instantly. No need for accounts or downloads. This greatly reduces the activation energy on the user so they can focus more on engaging with your content. So next, we also have creative freedom. From the beginning, our goal with 8thWall has always been to be very user-friendly for developers and creators like yourself. That's why we selected the web as our target platform. It grants developers and creators the creative freedom to create an AR experience on your own. You know, with both native apps as well as social AR apps, both of these AR experiences have a common issue. They have platform policies and approval processes that can present challenges for developers. If you've ever created an AR app, you know that submitting your build for review can take a really long time, up to days or weeks, slowing down your development cycle and frustrating users who are waiting for your update. With 8thWall, you control your launch, your update schedule, your distribution and analytics all on your own. With 8thWall's cloud editor, you can develop and test your project without any need to install software. And you cover all of the steps in the cloud. You can write your code, test, manage changes, and deployment all in a matter of a few clicks. So I've talked about why WebAR, but sometimes seeing is really believing. So I want to show you some prominent use cases about why you should be using WebAR. I just want to make sure my audio's on. I have a really cool video that shows some of our most popular examples from the past year. So to date, 8thWall has over 2,700 commercial experiences. So let's take a look and see what's been built at 8thWall so far. Amazing. Thank you all for watching that. And from the video, you were able to see some really big brand experiences from Kia to Coca-Cola to the Met. And from this slide here, also, you can see that 8thWall has worked across diverse markets, verticals, and industries, from food and beverage to fashion, sports, and more. And WebAR is demonstrating real measurable success across every stage of the marketing funnel, from brand awareness and interest to product consideration and purchase. And I'd like to take you through some case studies on this. So for example, Sony Pictures partnered with Trigger, the XR agency, who is also an 8thWall Premier partner, to create a WebAR experience for the movie premiere of Jumanji: The Next Level. And users spent an average of 5 minutes of dwell time in this WebAR experience. And then next, Anheuser-Busch InBev worked with Aircards, another 8thWall Premier partner, to create a WebAR face effect experience for the beer Dodgers Blonde Ale. And they saw 18% click-through rate for the rebates featured in the WebAR experience. And then lastly, New York fashion brand Kate teamed up with Rose Digital, another 8thWall Premier partner, to bring its season collection lookbook to life with WebAR. And this led to a 400% increase in sales for this fashion collection. So as you can see from these case studies, we're just demonstrating real return on investments with WebAR. So far, we talked about the massive reach of 8thWall, the creative freedom that WebAR provides. Next, let's look at the power of 8thWall. So we are going to dive a bit deeper into the actual product, and I will talk a bit about our feature set. So here's a very quick overview. If you like to integrate objects to the physical face, the best approach is world effects. If you like to advertise a product, you can explore image targets. You can augment the product for users to play and turn it into a trigger by detecting its art or logo. Next, we also have face effects if you're looking for something more user-centric. And we also have VPS, which allows you to create an immersive AR experience at a real-world location. And then lastly, we have sky effects, where you can turn day into night and use the sky as your canvas. Also, don't forget, you don't need to stick to just one of these features. 8thWall allows you to combine all of these tools for greater results. I'm going to go a bit deeper into each of these feature sets now. With world effects and built entirely on standards compliant JavaScript and WebGL, 8thWall's SLAM engine, or simultaneous localization and mapping engine, is hyper optimized for the web. So this means that you're able to create real-time, real-world AR experiences just on the mobile browser, using other features like 6 degrees of freedom, lighting estimation to create those real world shadows, instant surface detection for real world object placement and responsive scale. We're able to create believable, immersive WebAR experiences with no app required. Next, again, image targets, like I mentioned earlier, you can bring signage, magazine, bottles, cups to life with image targets. You can upload a flat or curved image target and then create a WebAR experience that is activated and tracked directly to the target. Image targets actually work in tandem with world effects, so you can combine image targets and markerless tracking. Next, you may be familiar with face effects, very popular in social AR. With 8thWall, you can also create high quality face filters. You can anchor 3D objects to your face, such as glasses or jewelry. You can render a face mesh and customize this with component libraries or design your custom visual effects. And then next, you also have VPS. If you're not familiar with VPS, you may have heard of GPS, which is Global Positioning System, right? It uses satellite data to determine the user's position. But with VPS, we don't only know where the user's at, we know what the world looks like around them in a 3D space. So LightShift VPS, or Visual Positioning System, allows 8thWall developers to have access to a user's position with centimeter level accuracy. As well as the Niantic map, we have over 100,000 VPS activated locations that allows you to build location-based AR experiences. And combine this with our maps module, you can help guide people from location to location, creating some really cool like AR scavenger hunt, for example. And then next we have sky effects. You can swap out the sky with a texture or video by turning day into night or making the sky look like it's Mars instead of Earth. You can place larger than life characters in the background and use the joystick to animate them, like you see in this middle picture there with our Niantic mascot, Captain Doty. And then also with sky effects plus world tracking, you can bring objects from the background in the sky to the foreground, which creates for a more really immersive experience. And then more recently, we came out with a shared AR module. This allows developers and creators to create multiplayer web AR experiences that enable real-time interactions with users without any other need for infrastructure setup or maintenance. It also includes customized lobby pages, networked gameplay, and more. And then lastly, and most excitingly, we have metaversal deployment. All you need to do is develop once in the 8thWall Cloud Editor and deploy everywhere. 8thWall's unique metaversal deployment automatically makes your WebAR content available across smartphones, computers, AR and VR headsets. So far, I've talked a lot about how you can create, collaborate, and publish with 8thWall using our 8thWall engine, the Cloud Editor. We even have built-in hosting and embeddable AR ads, and the Discovery Hub so that people can find your projects later on. Next, I want to invite Evan, our developer support engineer, to talk about the 8thWall Cloud Editor and give you guys a live demonstration of how to get started with WebAR. So I'm going to stop my screen share and let Evan take over.
Thanks, Chanel. Hi, everyone. My name is Evan. As Chanel mentioned, I'm a developer support engineer on the 8thWall team here at Niantic. And today I'm going to introduce you to 8Cademy along with a live demo showing you how you can create a brand experience with WebAR. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Cool. So 8Cademy is our brand new curriculum to help people go from nothing to something, start to publish your first AR experience. You can access it via 8th.io/8Cademy, just like this. And this will bring you to a Notion page. Here we have kind of like a getting started temperature check. And then you can get a preview of the start to publish journey with 8Cademy. So lesson 1 is all about getting excited, which if you're not already, then spend some time looking through this course, but I think Chanel covered most of that today. The second lesson is where we're going to start today. It's all about breaking out of the box, actually getting something published, your first WebAR experience. This is a very simple experience, just kind of replacing the texture of a cube, but you can do this all in just a few minutes, even for people who have no coding experience or have never built an AR experience before. Lesson 3 gets into custom assets, adding animations, and deeper into A-Frame, which is the web 3D graphics rendering engine that most beginners use on 8thWall. It's a declarative entity component system, really similar to HTML. So even if you don't have much coding experience, it's pretty easy to pick up. Lesson 4 is testing out a new feature, which is image targets, and it's actually hitting an external API. That's the weather API. So the image target here is going to be kind of like a different imagery, like clouds, raining, and sun shining, sun behind clouds, and it'll use the weather API to help render different 3D models on top of that image target. So that obviously goes a bit deeper and really shows off the benefits of developing AR experiences on the web, being that you can connect to external APIs, and you're not limited to just like kind of a shallow model viewer, similar to Quick Look or other AR platforms on the web. And then finally, sky's the limit. You'll combine multiple features together. This specific lesson covers how to connect a world tracked experience, something on the ground, with something in the sky. So you have something in the foreground and also something in the background. And in this case, it's Dodie walking right in front of you, and also kind of a giant Dodie in the sky. So today, let's jump in. I'll kind of show you what 8Academy looks like. So here you can see the 5 lessons laid out. And then once you complete these lessons, you can complete a survey and get access to this 8Academy badge, which we encourage you to post on social media. And we're giving away some surprises for the first 88 participants who post a WebAR experience using this 8Academy badge. Anyways, as I mentioned, we're going to jump into lesson 2 today. I'm just going to show you the structure of this lesson. It all starts with, of course, learning objectives. We want you to know how to navigate the cloud editor, make your own WebAR experience, and publish a WebAR experience. This goes along with a video by our colleague Ian, who gives you an in-depth overview and tutorial on how to use the cloud editor. And then it gives you some reminders about world tracking and where to find templates, and even how the template project was made. So I'll hop on over to our project library here. This lives at 8thwall.com/projects. We have over 150 pre-built sample projects and templates. These ones with the purple backgrounds are kind of our like bare bones templates. So it kind of, we call these unit cubes. It just kind of puts a cube in the sky, or a cube on the ground, a cube on the face, showing off the different features in a boilerplate way. And then we have more extensive sample projects, which show off things like makeup and a lot more. So this particular lesson is going to use the bare bones template. Let's see here. Go ahead and open up a fresh tab. I can also, so if you find one of these templates that you're interested in, go ahead and click into it. You can read some information and clone this if you have an 8thWall workspace already. And I'll call this XR Bootcamp Hello World. Go ahead and select a license type. Most of the time, you're okay with demo, educational, or non-commercial, unless you actually plan to use this in a commercial activation with a client. All right, and then once this clones, I'll go ahead and preview it just to show you what comes with this template. And I do have my phone pulled up here. So once you scan this QR code, this is a single-use QR code. So you wouldn't be able to scan this as well. Or you might run into some issues if you scan it at the same time as someone else, because this is just a development URL. You can see in the URL here, it has .dev. So this isn't actually a publicly accessible experience at the moment. But if we wanted to make this publicly accessible, I would just publish it here, and then it would give me a different QR code that I could share with my client or for my colleagues to test. Okay, great. So let's look at what this 8Academy lesson actually entails. Here's a remix, what the remix project will actually look like. You can see we're really just swapping out the texture of the cube that we just saw. And there's kind of 5 components to this lesson showing you how to add new elements to the AR scene. In this case, showing you how to add a sphere and play with the different properties such as radius and color. Cool. And then showing you how to position things in 3D space. So you can see here, give this a quick refresh. You can see in body.html where all of our content lives, that things are positioned in 3 axes. This is X, Y, and Z. So in the case of our box, we've just positioned it at 0, 0, 0, and then we've given it 0.5 Y so that it sits just slightly above the ground axis instead of right in the middle of it. So if you want to know more about positioning elements, check out this lesson. There's some comments on commenting code and then modifying the different components here. So you can see this is just standard HTML. We're adding an image with a source, an ID. You can see here we're using a material component. And a lot of these link back to just standard A-frame documentation. But again, if you want just kind of a guided 8thWall specific course, then this is the place for you. And then finally, it's showing us how to share your project. So let's go ahead and follow some of these ourselves. I'll go ahead and minimize this for now. And I downloaded this XR Bootcamp image, I found on the web. So I'm going to use this as the texture of my cube. All I have to do is drag and drop it here. I can rename it to something more descriptive, XR Bootcamp. And then I can come in here to my A box. You can see the other things in the scene we have now is, well, it all starts with an A scene. Then we have a light here, another light, ambient light this time. We have a camera, and then our ground plane, which accepts shadows. So this is the box that we're going to be manipulating. And I'm just going to change the source of this material here. xrbootcamp.jpg. All right. And when I save and build, it's going to hot reload my experience. You see here, I didn't have to manually refresh that. So now I can see it looks like it's just kind of a black box here. I can see I'm getting an error down here in our streamed console, so you don't actually have to open up your developer tools to see what types of error are being thrown in your browser. So it's telling me this is not a valid video. I'm going to go ahead and move this into our asset management system, which is an A-frame concept, which you'll learn about in 8Academy if you choose to go through that. I'm going to give this an ID. I'll just call it image for now, and then I'll give it the source of this image. All right, and then instead of passing in the URL here, I'll go ahead and give it a reference to this image. XR Bootcamp. Okay. Again, it should hot reload here. And then you can see now I have this purple cube with the XR Bootcamp logo on top of it. So it's as easy as that. We covered it in just about 5 minutes, and that's lesson 1. So again, there's 5 lessons, and this really goes to show how easy it is to get up and running with the 8Academy. So that's a brief introduction to 8Academy. Now I'd like to show you how to build a more comprehensive brand experience. Last week, I built this image target activated shirt. It's Balenciaga shirt, and it's one of their Pride shirts. It's going through the rainbow. And you can see this is using image targets. It could be on any sort of project or any sort of product. Could be on a package, could be on a shirt like you've just seen, a sticker, anything like that. And this is a really simple experience to create. So I'm going to run through the steps on how to create that right now. So I will start with a different template this time. Go ahead and close this and open up the project library again. This time I'm going to start with the image target template, which again has a purple background just like this. Clone this into my workspace. Rainbow Bootcamp. All right, and this is just a bare bones template again, so I'll show you what comes with this project. We can take a peek in potty.html. Very simple, just like the box component, we just have our camera, 2 sources of light, and then this time we have a different primitive called named image target, which we have a name called target, and that matches up with the image target that we've uploaded here in the console. So I'll go through the steps on how to upload a new image target, but for the time being, let's go ahead and preview this project as is. I'm going to go ahead and use this to test our image target. Cool, so you can see here, all this does is place a box tracked to this image target. Cool. So to start, I'm gonna go ahead and upload my own image target. I'm gonna use the same one as I just used, this XR Bootcamp image. Next, it's asking me about the orientation, also to choose the most descriptive area of the image. This is fine for now. And then it's asking me to test it out. So I'll go ahead and scan this QR code here. Pull this back up. And this will help me determine if this is a good image target to use. Otherwise, I might need to add a background or do some further modification to my image target, but this looks like it's tracking pretty well. You can see there's a frame around the image target, and then it's also showing the name right under it, which right now is just unnamed. So I'll go ahead and keep this as my image target. I'm just going to name it image for now. It's going to save, I'll close it. Great. Let's go back to our code and then update this to be image instead of target. So now this will be tracking to XR Bootcamp. Again, we can go ahead and save and build just to verify this is working as expected. I'm just going to pull this up side by side here. Okay, great. I'm going to go back to our experience and reload it. Cool. So now you can see we just have a cube on top of the XR Bootcamp logo. Awesome. Okay. So now I created a really simple video here. Just made this transparent, threw it in Premiere, and added a background video of just cycling colors. So I'm going to drop this into my project. I'm going to go ahead and load it into the asset management system, just like we did in the last example. Okay, assets. This time I'll use a video. ID equals video. And then I'll give it the source. I'm going to go ahead and name this as well. Okay, let's save and build and see what we got now. One more refresh. Oh, it looks like I've still left the A box here. So I'll go ahead and change this to an A plane since it doesn't need to really be 3-dimensional. It's just a video. And then I'll go ahead and pass in the source here to be video. Okay, and you can see the steps here. It says build successful. Now I expect the refresh on my phone. Cool. And now we can see it's rendering a plane on top of it. This is, if you're seeing an all black texture, it's likely because it's a video that has not actually been played yet. So I'm actually going to write a custom A-frame component to help us play the video manually when the image target is detected. So with A-frame, you can register a component. I'll just call it play video. I'm going to go ahead and get a handle to the video L. And then I'm going to add a event listener for image target found. So this is an event that's emitted. Image found, I believe, XR image found. So this is emitted by our engine when the image target is found, and this is covered in lesson 4 of 8 Academy. So if you're interested to learn more about these events and image target tracking in general, check out lesson 4 of 8 Academy. And then I'm just going to pass in the event handler here. Oops. Which will use this video L. So all this is doing is calling video.play when XR image is found. Let's go ahead and save and build this. And then I'm going to attach this component to my scene. I think we got one more reload. Okay, looks like this is giving a fully black screen. If we pull up our stream console, I'm sure we'll see some sort of error. So this is not allowed in the current context. This is because iOS devices and now Android devices as well will not let you play a video if it's not muted without a user interaction. So you'd actually need to register a user tap if you want to play a video. I'm just going to add muted, and while I'm at it, I'm going to have it loop as well. Cool. So now I'd expect that once this image target is found, that the video is going to start playing. Okay, so now you can see it's kind of cycling through the different colors here. Great. The last thing I want to do, obviously, is make it transparent, get rid of that black background that we saw. For that, we can use something called the chroma key material. This is a third-party component built by someone in the A-frame community. We have an example in our project library, actually a couple here. I'll just click into one of these. You typically load external components from a third-party library. But in this case, it looks like we've made a custom version of the component here that lives in chroma-key.js. So I'm just going to copy and paste this into my project. Call it chroma-key.js. Paste this here, and then I'll go ahead and register the component here. Actually, I can just copy it from this component in app.js as well. There we go. And I named mine slightly differently. So there we go. Cool. So now we have registered this custom component. Again, you could just load this in via a script tag in head.html, but in this case, we made a custom version of it. I'm going to hop back into this sample project one more time, take a look in the body here to see how they're actually using this chroma key shader, doing something really similar on an image target. So I'm just going to copy this line and add this onto my plane here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the source here. And instead, we're going to use this custom shader that gets rid of that black background. Again, the name of my video is just video. And the background color is just going to be pure black, which is 000 in RGB. Okay, so let's see what we got with this. Should reload one more time. So build successful. Cool. All right, so now we can see we got these, we got our digital version of this image target going. It's a little bit bigger than what we'd expect. So you can play around with the sizing of this plane. I did this before I hopped on this call, so I already know what scale I want this to be. And I want this to be 0.825. But, you know, I just played with this. I tried 0.6, 0.8, and then just kept kind of refining it until it was at the right scale. So now, now that I've modified the scale of this digital image target, oops, looks like a little bit off there, but now we can see it's pretty much aligned with the logo and it's transitioning through the rainbow. So yeah, this obviously, as I mentioned, could be done with any type of logo on any type of product. And we did it all in about 10 to 15 minutes. So this is how you can create a WebAR brand experience with 8thWall. And of course, you can do things that go much deeper to this. One of the most important pieces, of course, of a brand activation as well is a call to action. So here, we can add something just in standard HTML. You can add information on a product, or, you know, usually you'll add some kind of button that says like, for example, just learn more. And then we can link out to XR Bootcamp. So this is all standard HTML. And I'm not sure if this is the correct URL. I'll go ahead and test it. Cool. And then I'll actually just leave my button here and give it, I'll just do some inline styling here. Display. Actually, I'll give it a position. Cool. So just, this isn't going to look great, but this is just a demonstration of how you can use vanilla HTML in your 8thWall experience to do things like a call to action. So now you can see at the top of this page, we have a learn more button. Of course, we might want to show this a little bit later in the experience, but when I click on it, it would open up XR Bootcamp. Looks like it's not exactly the right syntax right now. Cool, but that concludes the live demo. We might have a couple more slides to run through on 8Academy. Chanel, I'm not sure if you want to pull up those slides.
Yeah, let me do that really quickly.
Cool, and then we have some time for Q&A as well. Looks like we have about 15 minutes. If we can just hop into that as well.
Awesome. I think we're going to 12:30.
Okay.
Let me just share my screen. Thank you so much, Evan, for that amazing demonstration. I loved how you're able to like troubleshoot right away, give us some best tips and practices, because there's always things updating, especially on devices. So that was really cool, and I love what you did with the XR Bootcamp logo and the call to action. So I'm going to move forward and show you guys kind of a little bit more about our resources that are available so that you can get started on your own with 8thWall. So let me share my screen. So we have lots of resources for you to get started with 8thWall. We have over 130 sample projects. You can go to 8thwall.com/projects and access a variety of sample projects that showcase all of our feature sets, as well as different frameworks from A-Frame to React to Play Canvas and more. We also have over 400 featured projects. So if you go to 8thwall.com/discover, you can see what other agencies, developers, and creators are doing with 8thWall and feel inspired by the possibilities of the open web and augmented reality. And then, of course, like Evan said, we have 8Academy. It is the 8thWall online school. It will take you from getting started to publishing your very first 8thWall experience. We do have a 14-day free trial with 8thWall. So I highly recommend that if you start the 14-day free trial, to make use of those 14 days, start 8Academy and finish it. And then if you ever need support, we have a developer Slack channel. You can join it by going to 8thwall.com/Slack and joining our Slack, where you will get announcements on our products, our community events. We host our own events, challenges, hackathons. We're doing a lot of IRL in-person events as well. We're actually going to be in Paris and Berlin this month, and we're trying to have more EMEA-friendly workshops, as well as some in North America, and a lot of virtual events so that we can support developers everywhere. So please keep an eye out for that. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, Evan, for doing the amazing live demo. Very impressive. Every time I watch you code, just make it look so easy. And then if you want to get started with 8 Academy today, take out your phone and scan this QR code. It's going to take you to the 8 Academy Notion page so that you can get started. And happy to take some questions now. I answered some of them while Evan was presenting in the Q&A chat, but I know that we're going to take some questions live as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Evan. And very nice to see that in such a short period of time, you can create one AR app. And of course, it's the beauty of WebAR, right? So, and 8thWall superpowers that we can see almost on a browser. And yeah, it's amazing to that WebXR is evolving that much compared to the previous years. So we have a couple of questions I would love to ask you. Maybe you can both answer as well. Some of them already like it's being answered, but happy to maybe go over it again. So how can we create WebAR without deep into coding? I think this is a very important question for us as well, because there are tons of people asking, can I learn WebAR without any coding knowledge? How much of coding knowledge that I need to know in order to master on 8thWall? So maybe, I mean, it's very clear that we don't need so much to start with, but if I want to a little bit go deeper and even sell my experiences to brands, how much coding I need to be really professional and start monetizing my creations?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for now, 8thWall is a development platform, so you do have to touch code, as you saw today. You don't need to know much to get started, as we have a lot of helper primitives already given to you, like tap. We have like tap to hold, like one finger drag. All of these interactions are already built up, so you don't need to code those yourself. I mean, you just add kind of like one word onto like a sphere, a box, or something like that. But the experiences that brands are building are a little bit deeper, and they typically do require a little bit more experience. I'd say you can get up to speed in a fairly short amount of time. Maybe if you build a few of these experiences yourself, and also just a few standard web pages yourself, you're in a really good place to start pitching to brands. And really, it's all about having a portfolio of experiences that you can share. So, practice with 8 Academy, build some cool experiences. We're here to support you as well. We love teaching and answering questions. So please join our community and we can learn together. There's also other external resources as well, like A-Frame School. There's a huge A-Frame community. But yeah, I recommend just building some standard web pages, as a lot of this is standard HTML, JavaScript, and then jumping into A-Frame and just getting support from the community. I think you can be up to speed in just a month, if not less.
Yeah, and I wanted to add on to Evan's great answer is that along with our project library, we have so many separate projects for you to get started. We actually have modules as well. So modules are basically these packages that you can add on to your projects. And they are a really great way to manage your projects across all of them. I'll kind of share my screen and show you what the modules look like. So if you go to the project library here, you can see all of our sample projects, look at them by the frameworks or the feature set or search in a keyword. But over here, we also have modules, and we're continuing to release more, and we're actually enabling developers and creators to create their own modules, hopefully to create a module marketplace in the future. So maybe you can't code a specific thing, but there are other developers who can help support that. For example, we have a player data module, and we're coming up with a lot of other things. Electric Factory just created like a shaders kit module. So we're definitely keeping in mind that we want to enable more people to who don't have a deep coding background, or just to speed up their development process with modules in the future.
Great, great. Yeah, I think as long as you want to learn a new SDK, I think this is one of the most accessible XR SDKs out there that you can really get into it. Even on a weekend, I think you will already progress a lot and you will not believe what you have produced. We already did that with some of our students, and really it's quite accessible. Perfect. So an interesting question, which I will also add up one more, maybe you can also tell us the unique features. How is 8thWall different from Spark AR? And also there are other tools on Snap, TikTok, and other AR. Like when you look at overall AR, WebAR market, let's say, how do you position 8thWall? What are the superpowers?
Yeah, I can give it a first shot. So, you know, the beauty of developing on the web is that you're not limited to a certain platform's moderation in terms of the content that you're actually building. You know, the filters through Spark AR, Lens Studio, Effect House all have to be approved. They go through kind of a process, moderation process. It's not super easy to update existing filters either. But with 8thWall, you know, you have full control over your launch timeline. So you can land and publish your experience immediately. And also, if you want to make updates to an experience, all you have to do is land and publish it again. The link never changes. Another huge thing is tapping into the World Wide Web using external APIs. The weather API as an example, but you can also tap into things like the Shopify API, or even capture payments through your WebAR experience with the 8thWall payments module. So you can't do those things in Spark AR or Effect House. I believe Spark AR has a few like hand-picked APIs that you can use, but with 8thWall WebAR, you can use any API or even your own custom API.
Yeah, I just got so excited hearing Evan just talk about all the specific different APIs we can pull from. It's just really the power of the web, right? And I'd like to add on to that. So like Evan kind of hit a lot of really good points. Like, for example, we have different supported platforms. We have the web. Spark AR, you have to use Facebook or Instagram, as well as TikTok. Effect House, you have to use TikTok, right? As well as a development approach. So Spark is interesting. They do use JavaScript. However, they use something called like the patch editor, which are basically like little snippets of code or modules. So that's a little bit different as well, and might be a bit more friendly for people who aren't very deep coders. However, we also have different distribution and accessibility. You just have a URL, QR code, and you're instantly inside of the experience, no app required, like we said before. And then the different targeted platforms and integration. Like we said, you can deploy on several different devices, your mobile device, your computer, VR headsets. Basically, 8thWall is a website, so you can access it on a Tesla, your Tesla screen, or smart refrigerator. So there's a few different things that really set 8thWall apart from other competitors.
One thing that I can tell from like maybe a little bit objective point of view, why our mentors are extremely interested in 8thWall, because Niantic is behind, and this means that there are tons of other features and other potential possibilities that can wait for us, right? Because it's not only building things for today, but how it will be actually something that you can expand upon in the future, right? Because as far as we can imagine as trainers and experts at XR Bootcamp, we are going to have a world that everything will be persistent virtually, right? And you will have lots of position-based stuff happening out there. Look at what happened in Pokemon Go, right? It's amazing. So I think this is an amazing opportunity that you are actually in good hands in terms of like really cutting edge AR today, also tomorrow as well. I think it's very exciting to see that there will be tons of features that will be waiting for us, I think, for 8thWall. So that's why I think it's a very nice choice to get used to, at least. Yes, let's continue with next question. Is there any device hardware limitations when using WebAR? So any limitations as far as you have maybe observed? Or what are the parts that we should be careful to run on lower end devices? Anything that you can recommend? I think it's an accessibility question as well, right? Because people will probably want to make it as accessible as possible. Even though WebAR is accessible, this doesn't mean that 10 years ago Nokia phones will work on it. So we have to understand how actually accessible it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Obviously, newer devices perform much better than older devices. Limitations in terms of the browser itself is that, like Safari and Chrome don't have access to proprietary or device sensors like the LiDAR scanner. You do have access to some things, of course, like the gyroscope and the camera, but that's pretty much it. You can also get access to location, but pretty much all of the other sensors are off limits, so you can't really do great depth perception for the time being, or like real-time occlusion. So these are things that you can get with ARDK on the native side, but on 8thWall, it is a little bit more limited, just because it is limited by the browser itself. A lot of the times it's not one or the other. We see brands build maybe a native AR app and then use 8thWall kind of to get leads or deep link into that native app if you are building a more sophisticated AR experience. And we saw that with Peridot, one of Niantic's newest games, where there was an 8thWall experience for you to view a Peridot and play with it, for a couple of minutes. But then when it's time to actually have it forage or breed it with another Peridot, it's going to prompt you to download the native AR game and use those sophisticated AR features. So really, we're limited by the browser itself. And of course, devices that are capable of launching the camera and motion sensors through the browser. If a device isn't capable, then it'll help guide you to launch it in a capable browser. There are some issues launching it through native applications that perhaps have a broken web view implementation. For example, Instagram on Android, it'll just prompt you to link out into your native Chrome browser. So there's a few edge cases like that, but really it's just by these native app implementations or the browser itself.
Yeah, and I think that Evan covered everything. I just wanted to explain one thing that he said. He mentioned ARDK for native apps. So Niantic also has another augmented reality developer kit, or SDK, called Lightship. And this is built on top of Unity's AR foundation. Just wanted to give you some kind of background knowledge. If you are a Unity developer, we also have tools that work across platforms. For example, VPS works both on Unity and for the web, so it does shared AR, and so do our maps. And we're continuing to improve both of these SDKs.
Perfect. So how to keep my project on the 8thWall private and confidential, especially when you are working with big brands? You may have some NDA, etc. before making it public, or it's completely a private project. What is the best way?
Yeah, of course, this is a huge use case. A ton of brands and creative agencies are working on, confidential experiences. So when you're developing with the cloud editor, you can publish to a staging URL instead of a public URL. By default, all of your experiences live on a development URL that can only be accessed through that QR code that you saw me scanning near the beginning of the live demo. So that's only accessible to me. If anyone else in the audience tried scanning it, they wouldn't be able to access it. However, when I was done with my experience, I actually published it to a public URL. I could have also published it to a password protected staging URL to share with the clients, or to share with other members of my team who don't have the 8thWall account. And that just brings them to a URL where you have to enter a password to actually look at the experience. So that's the way that these confidential experiences are usually handled. and shown to clients. But, you know, if you're developers only, then you don't really need it. You can just use the development URL.
Perfect. So Guardian is curious about the pricing plans. Product subscription suite or by individual products. These are fully released, not in beta, correct? Guardian is asking. So can you tell us, like, let's say, I mean, I also want to give maybe a little bit of like a clarification. Let's say I'm just wanting to propose a suggested campaign to my client, and I didn't charge my client yet, and I didn't make it public yet. Can I use 8thWall for free? And whenever I start earning money, what kind of pricing plans make sense for me? So maybe can you a little bit make it clear so we can understand how does it work?
Yeah. So we have a few different tiers at the moment. We have Starter, Plus, Pro, and Enterprise. If you're just getting started, Starter or Plus is perfect for you. It's kind of meant for exploration. A lot of people start on Starter and then they move to Plus, and then maybe when they actually start pitching to clients and getting deals, then they'll upgrade to Pro. So yeah, Starter Plus is totally fine. You can upgrade in the product itself whenever you're ready, or, you know, when the time comes to actually get one of these experiences activated commercially. So totally fine to upgrade and downgrade. And, for commercial experiences, it is required that you be on the Pro plan. But other than that, if you don't have a commercial experience, totally up to you. You can see and consider the different features that you get with these plans yourself. One thing to note, like a custom domain, if you want to host your experience at like your own personal portfolio webpage, that's on the Plus plan. With the Starter plan, you can't really use a custom domain, and most of your experiences live on 8thwall.com itself. So just things to consider, and you can look at the different trade-offs on the pricing page yourself.
Wonderful. Perfect. So the next question is from Kai. Is plane detection also supported by A-Frame?
So plane detection is provided by 8thWall. We do instant plane tracking. So once the camera feed is opened, other AR solutions have you like move your phone a little bit to find the plane, but with 8thWall, it's instantly detected. If you want to trigger that plane detection, you can manually call that yourself, but that's provided by the 8thWall engine, not A-Frame itself. A part of the learning of 8 Academy is.
Okay, I think
Evan must have accidentally dropped or something.
Yeah, I think so. I think, let's see. Our team will bring him as a panelist. But okay, at least we have the technical question being answered, so it's being supported by 8thWall. Let's at least finish the maybe non-technical questions as well. Yes, this is being recorded, shared. It will be shared by all the participants. We will share the link of this recording for all the registered participants. Why the name 8thWall? Channel, I think maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, so in theater, there's a concept called the fourth wall. When you break this invisible barrier between the actors on the stage with the audience. And then we double the fourth wall with the 8thWall because we're breaking the physical and the digital world together to create this augmented reality experience. So yeah, that's what 8thWall is, just transcending the audience in a different way.
Perfect. In terms of like how is it working well, or is there any like a browser recommendation from you in terms of Google, Edge, Safari, iOS, Android, anything that you would recommend in terms of browsers, or almost all the browser-based experience same, whatever browser?
I would say for sure there's a lot of documentation on this that we can answer more about. I have seen a few issues with Safari, you know, with iOS kind of with their updates. There's sometimes the AR experience doesn't load as well. And then it works totally fine in Google Chrome. Sometimes it's a order of operations of how you like create your WebAR experience. So it really depends for sure, but we've normally seen really good success across all browsers.
Perfect.
Yeah, it may just be different things based off like iOS or Android that is on the device and the browser, not 8thWall.
Okay, great. So can you build book covers and magazine AR covers with this? I think this is a very nice use case. I love.
Yeah, I would love to hear, like, if you're whoever wrote that question, what you're envisioning. Always love hearing the ideas that developers, creator, designers have. We have so many examples of using image targets for things just like that. Let me see if I can bring up the image target slide again to show you. I think that the book cover had, sorry, the image target slide that I had probably had like the cups, but they work very well with flat screens, so it makes totally sense. It can work on books and magazine covers as well as billboards. Yeah, we've seen really great things with image targets for sure. So I would love to hear and see what you decide to build with that. Yeah,
maybe we cannot see the name, but if you can just write on the chat. Yeah, happy to go over it.
For example, the project that Evan did today, what he showed you was an image target experience, and basically that's a flat 2D image. So for sure.
I mean, when you look at the use case, are there so many QR codes based tracking versus image? What is your like percentage on that? Like which ones has more, I don't know, like a use case, especially from brand's perspective or from the use case perspective?
Yeah, we've definitely seen both. I feel like image targets, it could be very finicky, right? And there's a few different things for best practices for image targets. For example, you need to make sure like it's not like a shiny reflective material, the pattern, it can't be like too repetitive. So there are a lot of different things to consider for sure when you're deciding how to trigger that that experience, whether you're using a QR code or whether you're using an image target. And yeah, we see that Evan is back now.
Yeah, we have one follow-up question for the book covers, magazine covers. Other platforms have a usage fee by the views. Want to create experience for authors and publishers. Do you have a usage fee by the views in terms of like book and publishing based use cases? By the views, I think like how many people are using, I think there.
Yeah, so there is not in terms of like image targets or even just views themselves on your experiences. We don't charge per views by default. Everything has unlimited views. There are some exceptions, you know, if you're building an experience for, say, the Super Bowl, that's for the Super Bowl halftime show, there's going to be, you know, millions of people hitting it in just like a very short amount of time. Then there are exceptions to that where it might be a little bit of a different pricing structure, of course, for commercial activation, but for anything on, you know, the starter plus plan, anything that's just your own experience that's not commercial, by default has unlimited views.
Perfect. So we can go back to the technical questions. We finished the other questions, Evan, till you are not there, but it's nice that you come back. How would 8thWall handle an AR project anchoring 3D models and drifted free locating in a large-scale indoor industrial environment? I also see some this kind of use cases, like you are navigating inside a factory, right? And million square feet is quite big. So how is there any like a, I don't know, maybe you may want to answer from a Lightship perspective as well. I think it's also going to the a little bit persistent world discussions, I guess.
Yeah. So for something like navigation, you can use VPS. VPS requires that you localize against something on the ground or something that's like accessible by humans. So it's not exactly scalable for such a large area. But if you know where the users are going to start the experience, it is a viable option. For example, I could create an experience that does span a large amount of space, say augment the side of a building or perhaps the entire building itself. But my user needs to start from 2 or 3 predefined locations. They can't just point their phone at the building from any ambiguous area. They need to first localize at, say, the entrance of the building using VPS, and then they can look around at the augmented building. But with VPS, you do have to know exactly where the user is going to initiate the experience. On the other side of things, you could implement geo-located content where it uses only the coordinates itself, using the coordinates of your AR content and the coordinates of the user, and then also compass data. You can do that yourself, but we don't have like a solution built in to our engine at this point, like we do for VPS. So that one takes a little bit more work from the user. Right now, we're really focused on human scale use cases, like activated storefronts and things like that. So VPS is typically what we see for that. You just have to start from certain locations.
Exactly. We are really excited with VPS as well, how it will evolve. There are tons of interesting possibilities, I think, in the future. So how would 8thWall handle an AR project? Sorry, are there any plans to transition to Web GPU in the future as this grows instead of, or in addition to WebGL?
I mean, absolutely. We're definitely watching. We're watching all of the standards and web technology that's coming out, and we're definitely considering and looking into leveraging Web GPU.
Perfect. Is the glass shader easy to use?
Is it easy to use, the glass shader? Yeah, so we have a template, a sample project. If you clone that sample project and follow the README instructions on how to prepare your 3D model, it's fairly easy. Most of that is on the 3D modeling side, rather than on the 8thWall side. It's just preparing your 3D model to look like glass materials. And then there are, it's a little bit different than other platforms like Spark or Effect House, since it does live on the web. But you can drag and drop your model into the GLTF viewer, which is just a web model viewer. And as long as the model is looking good there, it's going to look good in 8thWall. But definitely check out the sample project that we have for that.
Great. So our last final question. What if I already have a website, web app, browser-based iOS app, and Android app, and all I want is to embed my 8thWall project onto these existing cross-platform without having to break the existing website and other app functionalities? How does the 8thWall ensure that, and how would those embedded code be hosted?
Yeah, that's a great question. Of course, and that's one of the biggest advantages of developing WebAR experiences. We have a feature that we call inline AR. And you can embed your 8thWall experience in an existing web page. I'll go ahead and share my screen just to show an example here. So you can see this is kind of a web page, almost like the New York Times, kind of like an article. And then we have this AR experience that seamlessly lives within the web page. So you can click Start AR. It launches just within the iframe at first. And then if you click the full screen page, it goes to the full screen AR experience. So with this, you can host it however you'd like to. You can host it directly through 8thWall and then just provide the 8thWall link as the iframe source, or you can host it yourself. If the rest of your page is hosted yourself, if you want to host it yourself, you can. That part is totally up to you. All you need to do is just drag and drop your the URL of your experience into an iframe and check the sample project. It's called Inline AR. It gives you all of the information you need if you want to actually communicate between the top level page and the iframe. Totally possible. And we actually do that on 8thwall.com as well on the features page.
Perfect. I think we have a couple of two more questions, I guess. Let's say I want to build an AR restaurant menu experience. If I sell the experience to the client, let's say the restaurant chain, will it be possible to distribute the experience to each venue, let's say in the country, and adapt it to each venue? What do you mean by adapt? Actually, this is important, I guess. Just if you can a little bit explain that. I don't know. Would you be able to answer, Evan?
Yeah. So yes, you can definitely scale things like this. If you have a database of information, such as like the different menu items, you can definitely tap into a custom API to load in, or even use something like URL parameters in the QR codes. So most of the time AR experiences are accessed through QR codes. You can actually embed URL parameters in those QR codes. And URL parameters, like when you make a Google search and it appends your search to the end of the URL. So you can append maybe the name of the venue or the country, and then dynamically load in the contents of the AR experience based on that URL parameter. You can also use like your own database API, though that's a little bit more technical. I think the easiest thing is to leverage a custom URL parameter in your QR codes that then determines in your code, when the experience loads, it then dynamically determines what it's going to show in the experience. That's what we see most often. And then in terms of localization, meaning translation, if you are using this in multiple different companies, or countries, that's definitely something that's possible, and that's done the same way as any other standard HTML web page. So there's a lot of resources for localization online on that as well.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's also being shared. Thank you. So last final question. What if I don't want to allow the users to turn off the inline AR iframes? How can I prevent users or browsers to not turn it off?
Yeah, so this is kind of like on the other side. Let's see, how to prevent users or browsers to not turn it off. So there are things you can do to prevent people from like embedding your AR experience in an iframe. But on the other side, if you don't want to allow the users to turn off the iframe, that kind of just has to do with the UI of your site. If you lead a user into your experience via an iframe, you have full control over what UI is shown. In that specific example, we had a little like full screen button, and then we had like the minimize button. You could just take away the minimize button if you don't want the user to like go back to your standard web page. The UI is totally up to you. So that's all custom stuff that you'll see in the sample project. If you want to check that out, you'll see the full screen and minimize button. You could just get rid of the minimize button. Can't really prevent a user from pressing the back button on their browser, but that's kind of just a browser thing itself rather than 8thWall. So
Great. This, I think, wraps up all the questions. There have been actually quite a few number of questions. I don't know, maybe there are several more questions, but I'm sure that Niantic will continue these kind of sessions, and they are also very supportive in their channels. That maybe you can also share one more time how we can, like all the people here can reach out to 8thWall. I already shared 8thWall Academy link, but yeah, there will be also physical events. So happy to see you there as well. Thank you for all these contributions. Any last maybe comments on what is the direction maybe we should start for those who are interested today?
Yeah, I would love to, as well as getting started with 8Academy, going to 8th.io/8Academy to get started on your very first 8thWall experience. I would love to show you guys our events page just so that you can stay updated with our virtual events and our live events. So let me share my screen really quickly and I will show you this. So if you go to events.8thwall.com, you'll be able to see our events. We have, this is where we post our modules challenge. We have other challenges coming up as well. If you ever want to kind of participate on a purpose-driven build, and we have lots of prizes. For example, our BPS challenge that wrapped up last month, we had over $20,000 worth in prizes with, I think about, 12 different prize categories, including honorable mentions. And then we have a lot of like virtual events as well, where we do our own webinars. And you can also check out the recordings on our YouTube page if you ever miss any of them. Like, for example, here we talked about location-based storytelling, and we invited a premier partner to talk about that. And then going back to our website, we have live events. We actually have a live event with XR Bootcamp coming up in Berlin, but we also have another workshop in Paris coming up. So yeah, stay updated with events.8thwall.com, as well as going to our developer Slack channel, where you can definitely stay in touch with us. Evan is on the Slack pretty often. Our community manager Pablo is on there, as well as the other developer support engineer, Ian. So please stay updated with us through our events and our Slack channel, as well as get started at 8Academy.
Amazing. Anything else you want to add, Evan?
No, yeah, happy to connect on LinkedIn or via our developer Slack, 8th.io/Slack or 8thwall.com/Slack as well. I will catch you all there.
Amazing. Thank you again, our expert speakers today. And thanks everyone for joining us and asking these interesting questions. We hope to see you in the next XR Pro events. We are happy to host many companies like Niantic. And yeah, have a nice rest of the week and stay with us for XR related, all the tech that's coming up. And for tomorrow, I see Nikki and several people are saying for tomorrow, we have an interesting event coming up that we will dissect all the Apple related design guidelines. So we would love to see you tomorrow as well. Thank you everyone for today. Thank you our speakers. And yeah, see you in the next event tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.